You know the economy's in shambles if Home Depot is complaining about them not getting enough revenue because consumer spending is down. And so I got some real cool stuff in this video, and we're gonna talk about it. Because when Home Depot is complaining about, consumers aren't spending, it's why, and it's gonna affect your money. So watch and listen to this video and see if you agree or not. So first of all, so when Home Depot does, comes out and says stuff like that, we got to first identify their target audience. And when we identify their target audience, Home Depot has a mix of premium and budget-friendly options. So you can get high-end brands and you can get low-end brands, right? And that allows people to shop on a budget or whatever you're looking for. There's one big caveat though to this whole budget and not budget friendly thing, is that you need to do home remodels most of the stuff. Because so what happened to me was my dishwasher broke and I had a G monogram, and it was something that was connected from the pump to to the arm that was up there, and that's had the nozzle spinning around on top, and that thing broke. And it was a $2.90 piece, and I searched on eBay, I searched everywhere, and I could not find it at all. And I couldn't find it on eBay, I couldn't find it anywhere else. And so what I did was I contacted the manufacturer, and they also didn't have it. And so what actually happened then was that I've actually had to order a whole new washing machine, dishwashing machine, because of it. So absolutely tremendous to order a new washing machine, because they didn't do it anymore. The dishwasher was 5 years old and you couldn't get the parts anywhere. So it is kind of bad, but this is just the name of the game, right? You try to do it. And so Home Depot doesn't have these type of products. So when we're looking at, who does what, right? In Home Depot, it is mostly going to be contractors, new floors, dishwashers, all this kind of thing that they sell new. And in a time of huge, saving money and cutting costs, right? We're in these times where you cut costs, you save money. Then you have people saving money and repairing themselves, looking on YouTube, doing, the Google searches and trying to do all these kind of crazy things in order for you to save money, right? So when you do all this, money saving stuff, you do all these kind of things, then there are stuff, then there's like, I would almost say there's like the sentiment, not stuff, just like the sentiment that you need to do it yourself, because you cannot pay somebody to come do it. And Home Depot is where contractors go, where people go buy wood, they do DG, do it yourself kind of projects. But now when all this is going on, you cannot have do it yourself kind of deals, because it is not necessity. It is not a necessity for you to do any of that. So when you're looking at trying to do the home projects, it is not worth you doing anything right now. You need to save money, and when you save money, you just gotta shit, somebody's getting arrested. That's why I wasn't focused. Somebody's getting arrested. This is Las Vegas at its finest. I'm telling you guys, this area is something else. This is something else. So, where was I? So, yeah, when we're talking about Home Depot, then higher interest rates are also a big part of why people are not spending money on it. So when you look at it, here I have it on the screen, they make it more expensive for consumer to borrow money from home renovations, leading to fewer big projects and slower sales for Home Depot. So when you have slower sales from Home Depot, because people cannot do HELOCs, it's just not worth it. And now it is actually cheaper to rent. So when you go out and you rent, then why you need to do any of this? So it is smarter for you to actually go out and rent than it is to buy, right? So economy uncertainty, when people are worried about the economy, they tend to spend more cautious with their spending, impacting, purchases and home improvements. So home improvements, something that, people love to do during COVID. Home improvements is something that most people did and love to do when the economy is great. But now people are pulling back, and when it's not a necessity, it isn't worth doing. So you got to figure out, is this something that is worth spending money on? And now we're coming to a huge, huge thing. So if you've been reading the news today, Chipotle CEO is now Starbucks CEO. And now you're like, oh my gosh. So stick with me when I'm telling you this. So when you swap CEOs, right? Because Chipotle numbers were up. So Starbucks said, oh, we're falling numbers. We got to do something. So we swap out the CEO. And one thing is that as a Chipotle brand, right? As Chipotle, as it is, you can scoop as much in as you want, right? And you can make it more value. You can make a bigger value proposition with just adding more food. If you add more food to the same price, it gets cheaper and a better deal. With Starbucks, you can't just offer more coffee into the same cup because it's a predetermined cup, right? You can add more ice, but that isn't really what you should be doing, right? So now the same problem has Home Depot. When interest rates are high, they're not these people are not incentivized to go and buy, right? So you cannot offer a more bigger value proposition than you already did during, COVID, right? So the value proposition of Home Depot comes in, you do it yourself. But when people can't spend that extra money, there is nothing that they can actually do to get these people to spend. And when you have all these contractors out there trying to, trying to get business, and you're trying to get, business from contractors, if they're not getting the business, then you're also not, doing it. And they have huge, warehouses. They have huge staff, and they're so spread out in the United States so they can get a pretty good feel about the economy, right? And I agree with you guys when you guys are saying, oh, I cut my spending. I'm doing all these crazy things to save money because I don't know if my job's on the line. Well, now if you work at Home Depot, your job might be on the line. So it is absolutely crucial that you do not spend stuff that isn't 100% necessity, right? So how does Home Depot gonna return from that, right? The only reason how I can see Chipotle is gonna return, or the only reason how I can see Home Depot is going to return from that is when Home Depot is going to lower prices and make it more enticable for people to buy. But in a time like this, I don't know if people are willing to spend their money on things that aren't 100% necessities, because they already are in a lot of credit card debt. They are uncertain about their jobs. Their car might have gotten repoed already, or are in the process of getting repoed, and they do not have any money left over at the end of the month. So getting a new ceiling fan isn't the priority. Getting a new floor isn't the priority, right? You're trying to not lose your house. You're trying not to lose things before, you invest and, you make it nicer. You buy this new kitchen island. You do these remodels. So it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. So you got to be extra cautious, right? And when you're looking at these propositions of these CEOs, when they come in and say, we'll fix your business, it is very tough to fix a business that has been run on luxury items like Home Depot, like, Starbucks, because it is to spend out and, spend $5 on a coffee is a lot for people when you can get it at 7-Eleven for $1 or $2 if you really need that. But people are curbing that spending also, because you just don't want to spend that extra money. You just can't afford it. And even if you make 100,000+ now, you should not do it, because who knows if your job's next in line. And so I had conversations with you guys in the comment section about my last 2 AI videos, where people are saying that their bosses are telling you, we got to implement AI, but they're uncertain how they're going to implement it. And there's people from HR and executive boomers say, we need to make this artificial intelligence, but we don't know how. And that is for you to figure out. They're just barking the orders from the top and say, swim. And you're like, I don't know how to swim. I don't know how to drive. And they're like, just drive and swim and do whatever. And then they're like, how are we going to even do that? And so we're now in a time where uncertainty is around the corner because we do not know when interest rates are going to come down. So investors can actually reinvest into companies rather than just bonds and take a profit that way, right? So if you are holding cash right now and you want to invest, you invest into a CD, government-backed securities, because it's a guaranteed return. So the question is, can you secure somewhere else a bigger return with a company than 4.5% backed by the government? And most likely, it is not worth the risk right now to do anything else than just taking those 4.5%, 4%, and just riding it out and riding it out. Because if you're going to invest heavily into something, you got to be certain that there's not a 10, 20% dip, because then your money's wiped out, right? So be sure to, when you're going to pull a trigger, to have done your research. If you're going to do your research on it, you got to do it right, and not just a little bit, especially if you're going to deploy lots of money into something. Be sure that you know what you're doing. And there's this saying that I keep saying, it's easier spent than made, right? Unless you have a trust fund or it just grows on the trees by you guys in the front yard, then it is harder to actually make it than spend it, right? And a lot of people in my comment section even say that, hey, I just invested into, some random stock that they hear other YouTubers talk about. This is not the way to invest. You need to do your due diligence and do all kinds of, trajectories and look at all that, so you can make sure that your capital is working for you and not against you. Because you do not want to be like me, that invested into a company, into a penny stock, and it went from, like, I don't know how much I've invested. I think I've invested $5,000 in the penny stock, and it went to like 45, 50,000. And I was like, it's going to go to the moon, and it constantly dropped. And I was like, it's going to go back, and it never rebounded. It's back to where, no, it's actually less now than it was before. So you got to, don't take my investment advice, but do your research and do stop losses, so you do not, so you sell before before the market crashes, right? Those are kind of my lessons, and I'm just teaching them to you guys. Because if you're going to come home and say, I really want to do this home renovation projects, just don't do it. And I also stopped going to Starbucks like 3-4 weeks ago. I was like, I can make the coffee at home. It's not worth me spending $5-6 at Starbucks at the moment, because everything's so uncertain, right? And I had to do, cuts in my business, because I'm just doing these YouTube videos for funsies. They're not even covering anything. They might at one point cover a new camera, as my gimbal, if it falls down. But everything else is just luxury items, right? Coffee's luxury, Home Depot's luxury. If it's not a necessity like the air conditioner or something like it, or your dishwasher, then just don't spend the money. So yeah, I'm just holding tight, not doing much. I'm just like, man, it is rough out there. And you guys agree with me in the comments that you're seeing the same thing as I am. And not everybody, there's always like 5-10% of people that, that think that they're so much smarter, and that, the next president, Trump or, Harris, is going to save him. They're not going to save you. It's not going to get better with them. Let me say it this way. They're not going to be coming in and fall, and all of a sudden it's going to be great. These things takes time. It takes time to mess them up, and it's time to correct them. So if they're going to change, it doesn't matter if it's Trump or Harris. If they're going to come in and they're not going to lower interest rates, with the Fed, with the pressure and whatnot, then you're going to see even more layoffs and more layoffs. And what does that do? People that are going to be laid off aren't going to spend money at coffee shops, pizzas. And I love pizza, by the way. Somebody said, oh, I couldn't do it without pizza. Yeah, neither could I. But now I get my pizza and bake it at the house, because everything is so expensive. And everywhere you go, it's like they force you to tip now. And it's like, yeah, I get it. But it's like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. With all these crazy uncertainties, it is so crucial that you keep your wallet closed and do not go into bigger debt for reasons that you are not making more money, right? And if it's uncertain, don't do it. And yeah, we're going to see a lot more. And I'm really surprised how the US economy has not had bigger issues, than we already have with, interest rates being this high. because all of these companies are screaming that they can't do it. And there's just more and more layoffs away from actually, closing down. And once, I've seen these videos and I've seen these news broadcasting when they closed down Walmarts, right? And then the whole city or that whole little town that Walmart moved into and they got everything from is now gone. And so now they're like, oh my gosh, now I need to drive an hour and a half to get my stuff. And so if Home Depot is going to experience loss over loss, then they're going to say, we're done. We're going to pull out, because they're on, I think, like 10 or 15-year leases with options to renew. So they're just going to ride out the lease and just be done with it. I hope that's not coming. But if there's going to be too much, uncertainty in the market and people aren't spending on it, that's what's going to have to happen. And I don't wish that on anybody, that stuff like that is going to have to happen. But it's just a logical way of doing it. And it's the easiest way to cost cut, right? And so when you have to spend less, then it's easier, right? When they say, oh, we were going to do something in this area, in Pahrump or somewhere where I was looking at buying real estate. They built that nice one and it's at the edge of town, right? And so now they're like, oh my gosh, it's not driving enough traffic yet. So it's going to be at full capacity in 5-10 years. And so when it comes to that, 5-10 year mark where they can actually renew and say, hey, we're going to, do something like it, we're going to renew. So it's actually going to be profitable if there's enough pullback. And they're saying this isn't going to be enough profit in it for us in the long run because the town hasn't experienced enough growth and all these other things, then it's going to be pretty hard to not do layoffs and close it down. And so, yeah, not good times to be in. Not good times. And there is a lot more police. Holy shit. Look at that. So I'm going to wrap this video. Man, this is crazy. All these police officers, when you see that much police, it is never good. It is never good. Good for the community, but man, somebody is in trouble. Somebody's in trouble. Yeah. Holy. So yeah, check this out. If there's this many cops out, look at that. Look at that. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an ambulance, right? There's 5 cop cars and an ambulance. So something ain't right. Something is definitely not going on. Yep. Oh, there's this. Yeah, look at that. Look at all these cop cars. So even a supervisor, holy smokes. I'm telling you guys, living in Las Vegas, another day, another dollar. This was it for this video. I appreciate you guys. And man, I hear sirens, there's more cops coming. So crazy, crazy, crazy. Let me know what you guys think about all this, because I'm just like, oh gosh, we're gonna see some hard times. So by the way, shoot me an email if you want. And if you have good stats, shoot me an email. It's in the about section of my profile. And connect with me on LinkedIn. Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn, guys. I appreciate that. I'll see you in the next one.